שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
Well, Shabbat Shalom and welcome. Hag Sameach and Yom HaOlam Sameach. Happy Earth Day. So I know that Earth Day isn't a Jewish holiday. It's not on the Hebrew calendar, but in its themes and in its intentions, and most of all, the promises that we make on this day, we are so incredibly Jewish. The Jewish values of this day remind us, Kol Yisrael Aravim Zeh Bazeh. We are all responsible for one another. Kehila Kadosha. We act and behave best when we work together in community. Shabbat. Our land is equally deserving of rest and renewal as we are. And Lador Vador. That the work we do today is the legacy we leave for generations to come. In those respects, I cannot think of a more Jewish holiday. So tonight we are here to celebrate our commitment to our environment and the promise we make to the next generation. We'll hear the incredibly impressive work from our Rofei Tzedek committee shared by 3 of their representatives, Jessica Rosenberg, Marcus Ottinger, and Marla Becker. And I am really excited for everyone to hear about the work they have already done and what's in store to keep PTBE at the forefront of environmental healing. But tonight's a trifecta celebration. We have Earth Day, we have Max becoming bar mitzvah, and we have an ufraf, a wedding celebration. We'll celebrate our upcoming bride and groom, Mike Barkoff and Amanda Cox, and Max Caspi. You're that next generation. This Shabbat, you inherit your tradition as an adult, prepared to lead and take up the responsibility of these Jewish values. So we have lots of great things in store tonight. And for some of you, tonight even marks your first real carbs after a week of Passover. So let's get started with the lighting of these Shabbat candles so we can get to our celebration. And we are inviting our bar mitzvah, Maximus Samuel Caspi, his mom, Susie Caspi, Breslin Caspi, and his grandmas, Mary Lee, Joe Breslin, and Genia Caspi.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter the sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. All right, Max, we'll see you later. Great job. All right, so next we are going to call up Amanda and Mike for this special wedding, pre-wedding blessing. So an ufraf is an ancient custom. Some rabbis say that it comes from King Solomon, who ruled the kingdom of Israel in 970 BCE. And the story is that King Solomon built a special entry to the temple for grooms. And when people saw that a groom was walking through this entrance, they would shower him with blessings for his marriage to be a good one. So this evening, we're going to reenact this ancient ritual with a contemporary slant, of course. We'll offer blessings to Mike Barkoff and Amanda Cox, and we'll still shower you with sweet wishes through the throwing of candy. I learned recently it's actually a tradition to throw nuts because the Hebrew word for nut, egos, has the same numerical value, 17, as the Hebrew word for good, tov. So by throwing this sweetness at you, we're wishing you a good marriage. But nuts hit a lot harder than sour candy. So come on up. I want to wrap you in this talit. It's nice and big. Mishaberach avotenu ve'imotenu Avraham, Yitzchak ve'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel ve'Leah, hu yivarech et hachatan ve'et hakala. May God, who bless the young betrothed of Israel in every generation, bless this bride and groom tonight, Amanda and Mike. May God guide them on life's journey. May your marriage be a joy and a good example to all who know you. May you fashion a Jewish home worthy of praise, a secure refuge where you find tranquility during all your days together. May your marriage include many shark wins, Star Wars movie marathons, songs you can rap along with on the radio, trips to Disneyland, game nights with friends, Shabbat dinners with family, and many, many more occasions of joy, learning, and love. May the love of this couple inspire and bless their family, friends, and the community of Israel. And together we say, Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehekianu v'kimanu v'higianu b'zman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehekianu v'kimanu v'higianu b'zman hazeh.
One, two, three. Mazel tov! Well, Mike and Amanda, thank you. Well, again, we got the bar mitzvah boys are in charge of cleaning up. We're so excited to celebrate with you Saturday, April 30th. And I also just want to share, too, that Amanda, you are coming here tonight as a Jew, just going through your Beit Din, and this week we'll head to the mikvah. So you have so many more celebrations in store, and we are so happy to welcome you to our community and you both to our community as a couple. Mazel tov. So many celebrations already, and we haven't even sung L'Charodi. We haven't even welcomed Shabbat. We are on page 20. Thank you. Thank you, Xander. L'Charodi likrat kala yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'Charodi likrat kala yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad Hishmi'anu el hamayuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad L'shem u'tiferet be'eli tchila L'Charodi likrat kala yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'Charodi likrat kala yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki hi mekor ha'bracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. L'Charodi likrat kala yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'Charodi likrat kala yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Verse 5. Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki va'orek umi uri, 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 shir daberi, kevod Adonai alai miglai. L'Charodi likrat kala yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'Charodi likrat kala yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. We rise to welcome Shabbat into our sanctuary and into our homes.
Recording in progress.
Boi v'shalom ateret ba'ala gam besimcha uvesochola toch emunei am segula boi kala boi kala. L'Charodi likrat kala yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'Charodi likrat kala yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Well, you may be seated. And I'd like to invite our first representative from Rofeit Tzedek, Jessica Rosenberg, to the bima.
Shabbat Shalom. Happy Earth Day and Mazel Tov to our bar mitzvah and our couple. Very excited to be here with you today. PTBE's social justice team is delighted to join you in this quadruple celebration this evening. As we prepare ourselves for the Baruch Hu, we can interpret our call to prayer in the context of the climate crisis. Tonight, may that call to prayer serve as a call to action on behalf of our warming planet. As a reminder, our community call to action on this issue began 3 years ago with a listening campaign, house meetings, and a community survey in which you, me, we, PTBE, declared the climate crisis as the social justice issue most important for our congregation to pursue. The commitment we all have made to address aspects of the climate crisis, from greening our synagogue to community education to supporting legislation at all levels of government, is rooted in Jewish values and Jewish traditions that have been instilled in us for generations. Rodfeit Tzedek translates to pursuers of justice, and each of us in our community has the power and obligation to join in this work. The action we are taking is not the work of a committee. It is infused in our culture of our congregation. It is who we are. We are proud that tonight Rabbi Lisa will be announcing an exciting new initiative called Greener by Default. It is a fresh way for us to consider our relationships with food and our environment, and how we can intentionally incorporate our Jewish values into our community celebrations here at PTBE. And that was just a teaser. Stay tuned for more information. We are all stewards of the earth and pursuers of justice. We encourage you to check the Rodfeit Tzedek page on the PTBE website and to reach out to share ideas with us about how you would like to work toward combating the climate crisis. We are all in this together. So tonight, let our call to prayer evoke a call to action. Shabbat Shalom.
Yasher Koach. We rise for the Baruch Hu, page 28. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. Le'olam va'ed. Le'olam va'ed. Yalla lai lai lai. 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 That call to action is for everyone, and we all join our voices together in a statement of affirmation, a statement of faith and unity. The Shema is on page 34. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. You may be seated. We're on page 36. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, b'shivtecha b'feitecha, uvletecha v'derech, uvshovbecha uv'kumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot bein einecha. Uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha lemahan tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet. Our next message from Rofei Tzedek comes from Marcus Ottinger.
Shabbat Shalom. The Mi Chamocha is a prayer that celebrates the Israelites and their freedom from slavery, the parting of the waters, both a physical and psychological new beginning. The Israelites ventured into the future, and here at PTBE, and specifically through Rofei Tzedek, we are doing the same. While Marla will speak in a little bit about what we've already accomplished, we have even more priorities and even more ways that you can get involved in order to pursue climate justice in all aspects of our community. As we are able to restart in-person events, we're planning on engaging in lobbying efforts both at the local and state levels to support climate-related bills critical to fighting the effects of climate change that we are already witnessing in our community. We are also partnering with the Religious Action Center of California and other Reform temples across the state on the issue of climate justice in order to effect change on a larger level. This is primarily focused on lobbying efforts and urging members to speak about issues relating to climate in their own communities. And finally, throughout the PTBE community, we are working to continue lowering our carbon footprint, specifically through our use of fossil fuels, in order to leave a more sustainable temple and community for the future. As Jessica mentioned, you can look at all these efforts and more on the Rofei Tzedek page on the PTBE website. Now, as a younger member of the temple community, I see climate change as the most important and pressing challenge facing our society today. And the actions that we as a community have, are, and planning to undertake work towards building a more sustainable future. Just as the Israelites left Egypt in order to secure a better future for their children, we here at PTB are working to build a more secure future for ours. So please, get involved and help us build a better future together. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Yasher Koach. We think of that future that you described, singing the words of Mi Chamocha, page 40. Adonai mi kamocha netzar b'kodesh, no ratzehi lo rosei pele, no ratzehi lo rosei pele. Lai 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 lai. We invite Marla Becker to the bima. If you haven't guessed, she's from Rofeit Tzedek.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to Max. There's a commentary on the Amidah in our Siddur that has always resonated with me, particularly these excerpts. Disturb us, Adonai, ruffle us from our complacency. Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of living, and the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I have allergies. Let not your Shabbat be a day of slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. As a community, we have been stirred and spurred to action in response to the climate crisis. As Marcus mentioned, we've advocated for systems change and climate justice in partnership with RAC California, as well as Interfaith Power and Light, the Peninsula Interfaith Climate Action Group, and Dayenu, a Jewish call to climate action. Our teams have facilitated movie discussion groups on Zoom on the topics of sustainable farming, regenerative agriculture, and plastic pollution. Our temple leadership sent a letter of support urging the San Mateo City Council to establish policies to decarbonize existing buildings and eliminate methane gas use by 2030. We've also worked to build a greener PTBE in multiple ways. Excuse me. Last fall, the board approved the installation of solar panels on our temple's roof, thanks to the leadership of Nancy Schneider and Daniel Lipton with help from Interfaith Power and Light. After a slight delay with initial inspections, the installer has recently begun the process of securing permits from the city and expects to start installation in June. Another very exciting way that we're creating a greener PTBE is with the launch of our community garden. So if you haven't seen it, you can still see it after the service. It should still be light enough. It's just on the north side of the education wing. Our garden has already provided dozens of pounds of fresh produce for Samaritan House in San Mateo. Once a month, a group of dedicated volunteers puts on their gloves and makes our garden thrive. Over the winter, we harvested kale, radishes, and peas, and this coming Sunday, we'll be planting tomatoes and fresh herbs to join the squash and chard that are just starting to grow. With the support of the nonprofit Each Green Corner, we're learning how to sustain food crops and pair them with native plants that help support the soil and create good growing conditions. Putting in native plants means that fewer invasive species and weeds can thrive. They also require less water and fertilizer, help store carbon, and help minimize soil erosion. Delivering the food locally reduces greenhouse gases caused by long-distance transport. By promoting sustainable agricultural practices, we're equipping our community to make changes on a small scale for a cumulatively significant impact on environmental and public health, as well as food security for families right here on the peninsula. A hearty thank you to our community garden leadership team of Rebecca Schwartz, Jared Brown, Michelle Hudson, David Prager, and Lisa Bernstein. We hope that many of you will join us for an hour this Sunday, starting at 11 a.m., so you can get your hands dirty and see what it's all about. So no gardening experience is necessary, and all ages are welcome. Let this be the time that we join together as a community, that we are stirred and spurred to action as we confront the climate crisis together, rooted in our value of Tikkun Olam. Shabbat Shalom.
So we rise for that Amidah at this time, and we'll say the Amidah silently to ourselves so that you can have the opportunity to look through those readings. The one that Marla mentioned is on page 55, to find your own inspiration for doing justice on this Earth Day. We begin by asking for intention. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may praise your name. La 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 la, 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 la 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 la. La 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 la, la 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 la. When you feel ready, you may be seated. We're in our blue service handout for a prayer of healing.
Dear God of our
Our ancestors, help us renew our faith. Grant us a perfect healing.
bring
Peace to all our days. Elna, Refana la, Refana la nu. Elna, Refana la, Refana la nu. Restore strength of body. Help clarify our minds. Refresh our tired spirits. Rejuvenate our light. Elna, Refana la, Refana la nu. Elna, Refana la, Refana la nu. This Shabbat has been really joyful and also really inspiring. But the message in Earth Day is that we have an earth that is in need of healing, that we have a lot of work to do in order to improve our world and leave a cleaner, healthier earth for the next generation. Just like we pray for people we love, a prayer or speaking is not going to do it for us. There's another passage in the Amidah in our Siddur that teaches us to pray as if everything depended on God, but act as if everything depends on us. So just like we are called to lift our hands and pull food from the ground, we are called to lift our hands and hug someone in need of healing, call someone who is suffering, send a card to someone who's lonely, things that we can do with our hands to make the whole world, not just our ground or our land, but our world, a place of love. If you are praying tonight, if you are praying for someone who is healing, I invite you to rise and be recognized and have a moment of prayer with me and Rabbi Daryl as we walk around our sanctuary. In addition to the names that you shared with me and Rabbi Daryl, our community is praying for healing for Stephanie Levitt, Marilyn Greenwald, Marcia Margolin, Francie Karp, Donna Spanger, Evan Bin, Lynn Etlinger, Larry Margolis, Dory Winchell, Gary Verbin, Larry Gurman, Rebecca Frazier, Marcel Frazier, Sherry Berenstein, Maxine Rogo, Pari Meskin, David Habib, Anna Tran, Jane Barker Haugen, Lev Heschel ben Bat Ami, Suzanne Price, the Carney Friedman family, Eliezer Nachum ben Nortaea Vecharna, Carol Kleinman, Art Miller, Sergio Ripka, Samuel Jimmy Ezekiel, Ruth Remke, Carol Penn, Ella Schulman, Jessica Bobson, Lillian Ween, Ubdullah Ibrahim, Cindy Brines, Louis Eliscu, Dolores Gould, Tim Twamley, Elisheva Chana, and Peter Spivak. Wish them a refuah shlema. Refana Shabbat Shalom, and again, thanks for being here. So you may know the old joke that describes almost any Jewish holiday. They tried to get us, we won, now let's eat. But just because the narratives of some of our holidays may be similar, the eating part is very particular. Some foods are beloved and help us to rejoice. Think Hamantashen on Purim or apples dipped in honey for Rosh Hashanah. Other foods are about the difficulties or suffering of our people, the salt water and bitter herbs, or matzah, the bread of our affliction. And other foods are controversial, but bring up feelings nonetheless. Whether or not you serve a fish head on Rosh Hashanah, whether you serve latkes with sour cream or applesauce, or whether your matzah balls should float or sink. Food is important to every culture, and Jews are no different. And food is so central in Judaism that even the way the ancient Israelites served God was related to food. Through the sacrifice of animals, we offered burning meat as a pleasing aroma to God. In the book of Leviticus, which we are in at this season, the Kohanim, or high priests, would make sacrifices for themselves, for individual Jews, and for the entire Jewish people. These sacrifices, called korbanot, mean something which draws close. Their purpose was to bring people closer to God. And every animal that was sacrificed was also later eaten. In fact, the only time the Israelites ate meat in the desert was after a sacrifice. When the temple was destroyed in 70 CE, Jews stopped offering korbanot. We had to find a new way to relate to God, so we replaced them with other symbols and actions. To understand the symbolic representation of sacrifices, take the afikomen at your Passover Seder. You may not have wanted to eat it after it was hiding under the couch cushion for a few hours, but you should have, because the rabbis of the Talmud understand that the paschal lamb of Passover, the last food to be eaten, became the afikomen. And it's why the afikomen is now the last food eaten during the Seder as dessert. The matzah is a symbolic replacement for the paschal sacrifice. And we have many of these replacements, many new types of korbanot as well. Prayers, ritual items, giving tzedakah. They're all related to our ancient sacrifices. But no matter the tool of our sacrifices, we've maintained that they can help us become close to God. The korbanot teach us that we have to give something of ourselves in order to feel holy. We always make sacrifices to help us live in a world that helps us feel holy. Upholding Jewish values and living our lives according to the teachings of Torah is not supposed to be easy work, but it can help us feel close to God, feel part of a holy community, and give us the confidence that we are making the world a better place. One of the values that PTBE's Rofei Tzedek team has been working on is really called Shomrei Adama, guarding our environment. This value comes from one of our earliest passages in Torah, all the way back to the story of creation. In Genesis 2, God makes humankind the guardians of the land, commanding us to till it and tend to it. We are the keepers of God's sacred creation. But even as early as the 8th century, a midrash understood that being this guardian of God's land is a lot more responsibility than it seems. The midrash imagines God showing Adam all around the Garden of Eden, pointing out all the trees and showing off the creation. God says to Adam, "See my works, how good and praiseworthy they are. All that I have created, I made for you. But be mindful that you do not spoil and destroy my world, for if you spoil it, There is no one after you to repair it. We've come a long way since the 8th century, and we have spoiled and destroyed much of God's land. We are now in urgent repair from the generations before us. We're critically concerned with finding a better way to share Earth's limited resources. So in addition to the amazing initiatives and work you've heard from, the community garden, the incoming solar panels, and the advocacy work that PTBE is already committed to, we know that many more human lives can be sustained if land is used for planting rather than for grazing animals for food. A concept called greener by default has recently been approved by the PTBE board and will begin to roll out this spring and summer. The idea is that we can make the choice to place non-meat options as the center of one's meal. According to the Oxford Journal of Public Health, by offering vegetarian-centered meals as a main entree, we can more than double consumption of plant-based meals, reducing catering's carbon footprint by 40% and water footprint by 24%. And we'll still feel as if we've eaten a hearty, fulfilling, and tasty meal. If the Israelites can transform their meat sacrifices into matzah, this change for us should be a piece of cake. So next Shabbat, I'm really excited that our fellowship hall is once again going to be filled with our beloved community Shabbat dinners before our last Shabbat Hallelu of the year. And you'll see, starting at that dinner, that a delicious vegetarian-centered meal will take center stage. Will meat also be a choice? Of course. Dietary restrictions, food allergies, and preferences are all taken into consideration, not to mention choice. The Reform movement's old slogan, choice through knowledge, is still a value we hold. It's meant to remind us that the more you know and understand about a Jewish value, the more you will make an informed choice about how you want to practice it. We don't want to take away any choice. We only want to inform you more about the value of Shomrei Adamah behind it. To that end, I'm also going to be offering a mini course about food and Judaism starting in May. Over 4 sessions, we'll continue to explore this Greener by Default initiative, more Jewish food customs like kashrut and animal sacrifice, food symbolism that speaks to so many of our holidays and customs, and the value of Shomrei Adamah being the guardians of our world. For some, this new initiative may be a sacrifice of your favorite brisket or lamb or roasted chicken for Shabbat dinner. But in other ways, it's a sacrifice for the good of the earth and for our future, because there is no one after you, after us. In a famous Talmudic story, Honi HaMa'agal, a spiritual leader in his community, is walking down the road and sees a woman planting a carob tree. He looks at her bewildered. "How long will it take for that tree to bear fruit?" he asks. 70 years, the woman answered. 70 years, cried Honi. Not to be rude, but you're not exactly a youngster. Are you sure you're going to be around when this tree bears its fruit? Probably not, said the woman. However, when I was born into this world, I found many beautiful carob trees planted by those who came before me. Just as my ancestors planted trees for me, I am planting trees for my children and grandchildren so they will have fruit to eat. And that is really what this Greener by Default initiative is about. Let us be the generation that cares for our earth to leave it to the next. It starts with a small sacrifice of meat. Shabbat Shalom. So now we have another board member, a representative of our Board of Trustees, Steve Diamond. You're here with us on Zoom. Your other half is here. Your better half's here with us in our sanctuary, but we're glad you're with us too. Are you there?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Rabbi Lisa. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach for one more day, if that's your custom. Welcome to Peninsula Temple Bethel, whether you're here with us physically or joining us virtually. We're very happy that we're together this Shabbat. Thank you, Rabbi Lisa and Shua, for the beautiful and meaningful Erev Shabbat Earth Day service. Mazal Tov to Max Caspi on his bar mitzvah. Please join our Shabbat morning service via Zoom to help celebrate with the Caspi family. Zoom coordinates are in the e-news blast. I have a few announcements for you tonight. As Rabbi Lisa mentioned, our community Shabbat dinner is back. Join us on Friday, May 6th at 5:15 p.m. and stay for our Shabbat Hallelu service. Both outdoor and indoor seating will be available. Please arrive early if you have a preference because space is limited and registration is required by April 29th. To support Ukrainian Jews during the crisis, you can make donations to a variety of relief groups. You'll find links to donate in the e-news blast. The North Peninsula Jewish community will commemorate Yom HaShoah v'HaGvura, Holocaust Remembrance Day on Wednesday, April 27th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. You can register via the e-news blast. And finally, our wonderful Tree of Life Torah project is underway. Don't miss out on this special opportunity. You can register to fill in a letter or a word or a verse or a parsha or a book, make a donation or volunteer on letter fill-in days when our Sofer, our Torah scribe, will return to PTBE on May 9th, 10th, and 11th. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thanks, Steve. Well, during the holiday, when we look around our Seder table, it's really often very obvious who is not there, who's missing. And this morning was a Yizkor day, a day that we remember. Because we didn't have a Shabbat service together last Shabbat, we're actually reading 2 weeks of Kaddish lists. So there might be a lot of names we're recalling. But if you are here tonight to remember someone, we invite you to rise. In recent losses, we are remembering Dr. Nick Harris, Susan Wolfe Desmond, Barney Friedman, Alexander Wick, and Joy Marie Nixon. Last Shabbat was the yahrzeit of Elizabeth Lizzie Allen, Jay Becker, Sam Berger, Ray Brooks, Herbert Kahn, Lawrence Cantor, Daniel Levine Cook, Nancy Cooper, Janice Cray, Sophie Fain, Ben Folkman, Rabbi Jerome D. Folkman, Rose Folkman, Louise Gerber, Harold Gordon, Ann H. Ross, Edith Hyman, Rose Juray, Zalman Kapchun, Renee Kasef, Robert Katz, Robert Allen Kern, Abraham Kuturansky, Yosef Largman, Ben Leibovitz, Royston Lee, Erwin Marcus, Sarah Margolis, Robert May Jr., Barry Meyerbach, Rip Miller, Ida Miller, Elise Mueller, Peggy Nedzi, Sarah Nusihin, Fanny Okachovsky, Terrence O'Donnell, Martin Ottinger, Paula Oringer, Shirley Pollack, William Rubinchik, Agnes Bernstein Schwartz, Bob Serbin, Esther Singer, Ellen Sorkin, Sylvia Sires. This Shabbat, we are remembering Samuel Becker, Susan Balkin, Leslie Barry Oulton, Samuel Blickman, Libby Bunyan, Ellis Diamond, Aaron Ehrlich, Harry Epstein, Lillian Finger, Rathita Finney, Aileen Gandelman, Richard Gagna, Elizabeth Gonzalez, Matthew Greenswag, Julius Heisler, Robert Jacobs, Zelda Jenkelson, Helen Jean Wheel, Wendy Kaufman, Leo Levine, Irene Maisels, Jen Margolis, Clarice Miller, Elise Mueller, Veronica Nickinson, Simon Paper, Joy Paper, Sophilina Reingold, Julia Rose, Herman Rosenkrantz, Jacqueline Rosenthal, Marion Safran, Eileen Schreiber, Helen Schuster, Ida Scott Smith, Emmanuel Solos, Ron Stern, Rose Verbin, Efitz Vitkina, and Irving Weinberg. If there's anyone who I left off the list or I mispronounced a name and you'd like to say it out loud, please do. And those of you who are on Zoom, if you're remembering someone, please add their name to the chat box so that we can acknowledge you as well. We rise together as one community to recite the Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'amad Divrah Chirotei V'amlich Malchutei, B'chayechon V'yomechon V'chayed Chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agalav V'zman Kariv V'imru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevarach Le'olam Olmei Amaya, Yitzbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh, V'yit Hadar V'yit Aleh V'yit Halal Shemei Kedusha Barichu, Le'ela Min Kol Berchata V'shirata, Tush B'chata V'nechamata, Damiran Be'amad V'imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'mromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'yakol Yishvei Tevel V'imru Amen. Zikronam Livracha, may their memory be for a blessing. So now, Max, you have the opportunity to add sweetness to Shabbat with the Kiddush and Motzi. We can follow along with Max on page 5, and he's going to come up to the Bina here.
We're going to do the Kiddush. Sorry. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava u'ratzon hin hilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reheshin ki hu yom tehillah lemikra'ei kodesh zeher l'tziyat mitzrayim kivanu v'harta leotanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodsha v'ahava uvratzon hinhaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
90, great.
All right, so, there's a discrepancy in diaspora and Israeli practices about when we end Passover. So just to be on the safe side, tonight's oneg is still kosher for Passover. For those of you that are still observing, we will say motzi over some matzah. Tomorrow you'll get challah.
Okay.
Baruch atah
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lehem min haaretz.
Amen. Break a little piece of that matzah. And again, there's more matzah for everyone outside, and some really good kosher for Passover macaroons. So I want to thank Max and the Caspi family wishing you Mazel Tov and looking forward to celebrating tomorrow morning again. You can go sit down and eat that. Xander even wants matzah. I want to thank Rofet Sedek, just all of the amazing work that you bring to PTBE, and particularly tonight, Jessica and Marla and Marcus, for your really, really challenging and thoughtful words. And of course, to Mike and Amanda, we are so glad that you are experiencing so much joy and that there is more and more and more joy coming in the next few weeks. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And thank you to Schwa. Do you have any marriage advice for Amanda and Mike?
Sing the song.
Just sing the song. Oh, say shalom. Bim Roma. Oh, say shalom. Bim Roma. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu. 1, 2, 3, 4. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. Shabbat shalom.